Can we cover that for now so you don't hear that?
You want to cover it?
Is it too loud?
Sure, that's fine. I mean, you can.
Just to quiet
It doesn't matter. Yeah, it could help. All right, Cap. We're live.
All right. Well, we caught some live shad reeds this afternoon. Cast netted them, and our target will be clown knifefish, which is a native fish from Southeast Asia, and they're a lot like a tarpon, where they roll, they gulp air, real visual bite on them, and typically in the early morning and late afternoons is when we target them. I mean, we're seeing them in this area rolling kind of back and forth through this canal. So we're going to fish these live shad and fan cast them, from the bow to the stern, and keep working them around and hope that we can get a bite. Hopefully these boys will get tight pretty soon.
First shad out. I caught my first clown knife here earlier this morning. We were just over here. Captain wanted to come over here and look at it for this afternoon, and we came over here, and it wasn't 2 minutes later, and we hooked into a clown knife, and we catch a peacock and a few largemouth here. So we're about to start firing some baits out and maybe throw some freebies out there too, try to get them fired up a little bit. And hopefully right here before dark we can get them.
Explain freebies.
Basically here, to get them going, Captain Bill will come over here and get the net and throw 5 or 6 shad out there and get them swimming around a little bit and try to get these fish out here towards us a little bit and get them chasing some of these shad around. And we'll follow it up with a shad with a beautiful 2-aught owner hook in it.
And there's a fish rolling out there. I mean, it's hard to see, but there's a fish that just gulped some air back there, and I've seen a couple up the other way here. We're dealing with some weed that's flowing through the canal, so it's going to be a lot of casts. It's going to be a little bit of work to work through this stuff and get a bite. But I think as the sun goes down here, they ought to turn on. We ought to get a few shots here. So that's the deal. It's like all fishing. It's just perseverance pays. Just keep casting good baits and wait for one to roll up there and eat it. I've seen a couple bigger fish rolling down the canal on this side. I've seen a couple good fish up this way too, so they're just swimming up and down the canal. So we're just going to hopefully get a good bait in front of them, and they'll eat.
You can see them gulping air.
We got Bill Dance on the boat today. Go ahead and show him Bill Dance.
Well,
the Ida.
I was joking before we came down,
It's good now.
because I don't fish near as much as these guys, about being Bill Dance. Telling my wife that I was Bill Dance. But I had a heck of a morning. I caught a really nice largemouth in the 4.5 to 5 pound range. Caught a really nice peacock bass. Actually 2. One was really nice, and which was my first peacock bass I've ever caught. And I also was fortunate enough to catch one of the crownfish, the knife crown. And I tell you what, it was exciting. The jumping. I mean, this is just this is a blast. I've never experienced anything like this in a freshwater lake, where you have this many species, and it's just right here in our backyard. We're about 4.5 hours north in Jacksonville, and I just didn't realize bodies of water like this existed. So we're just having a blast. It's just
And it helps
Good
having a guy of knowledge like Captain Bill that
yeah.
knows this.
Yeah, Captain Bill has a plethora of knowledge.
There we go.
Whoa.
Oh, big hit.
Whoa.
Here, here, here. Keep it still. Keep it still.
So you kind of see what happens when they hit.
Get up on him. Get
they
next
just
to him.
Pretty much.
Try to get him and
Well, you got a nice fish on there.
Peacock. Woo! See, these things fight probably 5-10 times harder than a similar sized largemouth. Amazing.
Play him. Let him work. Let him work.
Yeah.
Man, this is
Just keep it tight, Walt.
What do you got on here, Walter?
peacock bass. Nice.
We keep the drag set loose because we got 8-pound tests. We got to keep. We were using small hooks.
Walt, he buried you in the weed there.
Tighten it
so
up a little bit.
There you go. Pull him out of there. There you go. You got to free him out of that hydrilla. There you go. Bring him right to me with your rod tip. That's good. Oh yeah, buddy.
That's what it's about right there, guys.
That's what we're doing.
That is what it.
There's your butterfly peacock bass in South Florida, Palm Beach County. Sweet fish, nice and thick, healthy. Lots of beautiful color. That little spot on their tail. Just sweet looking fish all the way around. Great fighting fish, great game fish. I mean, on 8-pound spinning tackle, that's about as good as it gets. Bye, baby.
Man,
Nice job, Walter.
what exciting. I tell you what, it doesn't get any better. It just doesn't get any better. We got Matt hooked up behind us, and we're ready to go. I'm going to see if I can catch something else.
Nice. Talk to me, son.
I told you where to go. He's been on it all day. No matter where he's at on the boat.
For those who just got tuned in, tell them what just happened, Bonnie.
Basically, we just pulled up in here and threw out. And my dad here, Walt, he's been catching them all day. And as soon as his bait wasn't soaking for 2 minutes, and he got smoked by a peacock. So hopefully we can get them fired up and going here, and catch a few more and maybe hook into a clown knife.
Can you talk a little bit about the setup, Captain Bill?
Yes, sir. What we're fishing is a 2-0 light wire owner hook with 14-pound fluorocarbon leader to 8-pound main line. We fish 8-pound. That makes it easy for these small live baits to swim around real naturally. And typically, you know, what we're doing is we're just fan casting. We're gonna start at 12 o'clock, go to 9 o'clock. You know, just fan cast fresh baits. That's the key, is to have a really lively fresh bait. When it hits the water, it takes off and swims real freely. And you know, because these fish are finicky. There's a lot of bait in the system, so you got to present a really good lively bait for them to eat it. And there's obviously right now a lot of weed to deal with and stuff. So you just free line the bait for a few minutes when he's really hot, and then wind him up and recast. That's kind of what our MO is here, tonight. I mean, we've got a lot of bait, so we're going to just try to fish a lot of fresh baits. A lot of times when the bait hits the water, your first 10, 15, 20 seconds, if that fresh bait hits the water, that's when you get the bite. Baits that are lollygagging or half dead, they don't get bit. The fresh live bait gets the bite. So we're going to continually cast them put fresh baits on a lot. We've got a lot of live bait, which we caught earlier. So we're gonna try to use them all up.
Talk about the Peacock we just hooked up. One more time for people that just are tuning in.
We've
For
been
anybody
here,
that missed it.
been here probably 5 minutes, and it wasn't the first cast, and he hooked up on a Peacock. And what me and Captain Bill were talking about, this canal was actually covered in grass. And what we're thinking is they're getting under here during the day and getting out of the sun. And as the sun starts to go down, the water starts to cool off a little bit, and they're actually kind of coming out here in this canal. And our baits are right here, so it's the first thing they see when they actually come out here to feed in the afternoon.
And the more the sun goes down, the better it's going to get.
That's right. How y'all doing? Captain Bill LaFree has been fishing these waters down here since he was basically old enough to walk, and he just has an unbelievable amount of knowledge in these waters, and we're just fortunate and blessed to have the opportunity to come fish with Bill. I've done a lot of fishing with Bill offshore. This is the first time that I've had the opportunity to come down here and do some inshore fishing. This is my son's, I think it's the 5th time he's come down here and fished these freshwater waters with Bill. And I'm just excited that I was able to catch crownfish before he did, and mine being bigger than his also, because he's a heck of a lot better fisherman than I am. But sometimes a blind hog finds an acorn, and it looks like this morning was my morning, and we just have a great group of guys out here together, and just the camaraderie of coming out here and fishing is great.
Look at those clownfish boiling out there.
Fired up, I mean, you want a bait, you want a bait that's, you cast it and hits the water, and it takes off. It does something unusual. You don't want a bait that just hits the water and kind of, slowly. So you want to get the bait and cast it fast, and put that bait on, get him in the water as fast as you can. That way. Exactly. That way when he hits the water, he's as fresh as possible. That's key. That's it. That's good. Right there. Use your belly of the line as your indicator for your bite. 90% of your bites are going to happen on a fresh bait in your first 30, 45 seconds that hits the water. The second and third cast, your odds of getting a bite go down exponentially from there, because the bait's getting tired. It doesn't look natural. You want a bait that hits the water and just takes off. My saying is that like a hot bait gets a bite. And if you're sitting there that long without a bite, wind it up slowly and recast it. constantly, constantly recasting, constantly representing the bait. Because a lot of times I think that splash when the bait hits the water is what
Triggers
is
it.
what triggers the bite.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of times when a shad hits the water at first, he goes down, and then he slowly, creeps up to the surface and starts doing his little dance on the surface. When that bait hits the water and goes down, that's when the fish reacts to him. That's kind of your bite window.
You getting bit, Bunny?
No, he's just swimming away from me, so I'm giving him a little bit so he can keep swimming.
These guys are focused.
So Dan's focused on the venison jerky.
We got Walter eating the venison jerky back there.
You know what, son? Good old Georgia deer. It's a beautiful evening here.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, for summertime in South Florida, this is about as good as it gets. Yeah, they're rolling everywhere. One just roll right alongside the boat. The fish are here. It's a matter of whether they're gonna respond. Yeah, it's almost like these fish aren't rolling here like they were earlier. I mean, we saw more fish earlier, but it almost makes me think that they're down, starting to feed, which is the case. A lot of times we'll see a couple rolling, not the numbers that we saw earlier, but sometimes it's indication that they're down, actually foraging, in the weed. Thomas, I think you're gonna get bit.
Thinking. I'm hoping.
I'm thinking you're gonna get a bite. There's the bubbles right here. Those are clown bubbles right here, right off the bow. There's a fish right there. kind of got spooked when he was over in that little area too. Your bait took off a little bit.
He's diving down and he's swimming now here.
Might be a pickup there.
Might be. He's freaking out with something.
I think he's 8. I think he's 8 right now. You're tight. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go.
Nice.
Play him, son.
Catfish.
Catfish.
Nice little cat.
Thought we were hooked up on a Peacock. Let's check him out. Bring him over here.
It's called bycatch.
And I actually didn't even get him in the mouth. I actually snagged him. I don't even know. And they're good too. Bill, I might need your little tiny fingers over here. Need baby fingers. That's right there is what you don't want to mess with.
Let's see it.
That fin, you got a bunch of barbs lined up under this one, that one, and that top fin. So a lot of people think these are the problem, which they're not. It's these.
And as the catfish gets older, those spines start to wear down. These aren't as sharp anymore, but they can still stick you. He is really
Hook good.
hooked in a really fleshy bad spot. Thomas, I didn't know you could hook a catfish this well. There you go. He's gone.
Let's check him.
You go.
Not what we're looking for, but it's a fish, right?
It's a fish. A tight line is a tight line. That's what we're here for. I tell you what, they got all kinds of stuff on them, don't they? Look at that. All that slime that comes off of them. All over my fingers. There's definitely a bite.
That was a bite. We saw it. We saw the whole thing.
We've seen it. And what's good about this mono is it floats on the surface. So you can watch the line on the surface and you can see almost exactly what that shad's doing under the water. And sometimes it'll swim and stop. And the shad will just be sitting in grass or whatever's down there. And if you pull him out of it, like he's in it now, and just pull him out of it, he's in it good. You want him to swim right above it. So when that mono's floating and it's steady, kind of moving out from you, that shad's doing exactly what you want it to do. But when it goes out and it stops, he's obviously hiding, and which is not a good thing. You want him to be not swimming where everything can see him. So I just let the line float and I can see what the shad's doing. And like that bite right there, the shad was swimming away from me and I kept feeding it line, and all of a sudden you can see that.
It looked like you just got bit, man.
I think it's just, I think it was him swimming to the bottom.
Yeah.
Like a bobber. Bobber fishing with mono.
All right, let's move up the line a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do whatever you need to do.
I'm not seeing what I saw here earlier. Hey Matt, can you pull that anchor up for me, bud?
So what are we gonna do, Cap?
We're gonna make a little move to the north to another set of bridges. I mean, there are some fish rolling here, but not what we saw here earlier today. So we're gonna make a little move before it gets dark, and hopefully, you know, I like to give it 15 or 20 minutes, you know, in a spot to see if things are gonna sort of materialize, and they haven't, you know, materialized here yet. So we're gonna.
We did pull one good peacock.
Yeah, we're gonna move on. Just I'm looking for something, you know, a little more exciting than what we got here. I'm not seeing the fish rolling here that I saw earlier, so that tells me that it's time to look for greener pastures. Matt, you didn't think you were doing yard work today, did you?
Hey T, come over here for a second. Let me rest on you. Or hold on to you.
Little blowout. There you go.
Down pretty low here.
Are those poles gonna hit?
No, the poles are okay. I'm just worried about heads. Real low. Alright, Matt, go ahead and lay that anchor down real quick. A little cleaner here. Not so much weeds. Wait, a little closer. I'll throw it right on the edge of that weed bed, right off the bow there. Right there. Just tie it off pretty short. Where it is fine, actually. Alright, let's get this party started.
Can I get a recap?
Well, we started in a place earlier that we saw a lot of clown knifefish rolling, which are a great game fish for us here in South Florida. They're from Southeast Asia, and we did end up catching a couple this morning. Back where we were earlier, I did not see the numbers of fish rolling there tonight that I did earlier in the day, so we moved to a different spot. A couple of bridges, a lot of structure here, a lot of good weed beds, hydrilla, a lot of eelgrass, stuff like that. So we're gonna kind of probably spend the rest of the evening here. We're gonna chum some live bait, and we're gonna fan cast some live baits around this area, and see if we can get them going. Now we're just counting on our fishermen to produce.
Yes, sir.
There's a nice clown just rolling up there.
The traffic guy's in a good spot.
Yeah.
He just gotta go over there.
Now you guys gotta close them. Nice clown knifefish just rolled right here, pretty close, behind the boat. So anytime we see them roll, we try to cast right on them. It's the most obvious, sign that there's something there. And sometimes he'll cast on a rolling fish and he'll turn and just eat it, for whatever reason. He's ready to eat. It's getting dark right now, so this is the time when these knifefish start feeding. Pull your bait out of what you're after if you're getting bit or
We're gonna see if we can pick one.
Nothing but a waiting game. Hopefully these fish will get fired up right here before dark.
What do you think, T?
Hopefully, here shortly, once the sun goes down a little bit more, we can get them going here. like Captain Bill said, we just moved over here with these bridges, a little more structure, a little less grass over there. We were doing with a lot of floating grass, a little shallower over there, so the boats were blowing some eelgrass up and it was floating on the surface, so our baits were getting caught up in it almost every cast. So we moved down a little bit, so hopefully we can get these baits swimming a little more freely and get them going here. Grinding it out.
Get going there, Walter.
You never know what Walter's doing, but he seems to catch the fish.
I can't release all my secrets.
Did you miss one?
Matt just get bit there? You did. Matt just got in.
Matt, you've been awful quiet tonight.
Yeah,
I'm dialed in right now, dude.
He's in the
We're
zone.
catching him.
Tonight. Was that a good bite, Matt? Was it like
Yeah, it was solid.
just solid?
Yeah.
I like how Walt moved right back to the very spot. He got bit. Yeah.
Well, he follows the fish.
Yeah, he does. You know, Walt's a fish follower, so he anytime he sees a bite, he ends up kind of casting back into that area. He's a big guy, so he can push Matt right out of that, you know, out of that crowd. Yeah.
I'm kind of getting ready for college camp.
All right. Toughen him up a little bit.
There's always going to be that bully, Matt.
Yep.
How about this first class service?
How about
You
it?
like that?
Yeah.
One thing Bill always says, don't pass shad around. The more hands they touch, the less lively they are.
Yep. One hand, one set of hands.
One set of hands.
Get him
That's
in
the
the water
truth.
quick. Oh, look at that clown knife right there. Just
Yeah.
The whole fish just rolled right there. The whole fish came out of the water. Little guy.
Little
Like
fella.
that one you caught early.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Easy.
Like the only one you've ever caught. Like a 3-pounder. Thomas, you gotta get a double-digit clown here. My boys are doing weed control right now. They're cleaning all the hydrilla out of the spot so that we can actually cast here and not get hungry.
Do these weeds die off
In the winter.
in the wintertime?
Yeah.
So it's a little...
Summer's a lot worse with the weed. Back to life in the summer.
I wasn't sure how it was down here in South Florida where it's always 80 degrees. I got my bait freaking out a little bit. He's freaking out about something. He took me in the hydrilla. Shad know where to go.
Well, they
Give
have
him
no
that.
choice. There's a lot of hydrilla back in here. So as soon as they start swimming, as soon as they get around a branch of it, there's not much you can do. How's your bait, Walt? You got
double hook from the gill.
You have absolutely perfect size bait. Yes.
That's what happens when you handle your bait. You knock the scales off.
Give me your hook,
And-
well, just bring your
and,
hook to the well.
And the bait goes dormant.
I don't know. I mean, Yellow Cast River.
It's a little shallow over there, Dad. The shad gets in that hydrilla pretty quick.
But you want to give me like a 2-minute break on my own?
Yeah. We can get you set up here.
All right, everyone. I had to get a quick break from running the camera. We passed it back and forth. We've been running live for a little bit, so I'm just gonna make a couple casts for me to regroup, and I'll get back behind the camera and let the master back in action.
Probably we have to get somebody on that pole that can catch something to the catfish.
I sure hope that I don't hook up right here.
Well, you might. Sometimes it's all it takes.
Changing the action.
A little change in it, you know.
Hey, for anybody who's tuned in for real though, we had an awesome morning. It's a new experience for me personally, coming down here and fishing these clown knife fish, and caught my first peacock bass. I did a lot of the filming this morning, but these guys did give me an opportunity. Captain Bill made sure that I caught a peacock before the day was over with, so it was awesome. But we did catch a lot of fish. The bite is just, you know, we're here in the middle of July, so, you know, the temperature, the water temperature is super warm. We just happened to get fortunate today. You know, we were talking about it. You know, this is the first legitimately reasonable day as far as weather goes, you know, and never past the 80s. So really was a nice day to get out here and fish, and it's been a great experience for us. I mean, to be honest with you, I was telling them up until Thomas invited me on this, you know, I was living in Jacksonville, Florida. I had no idea that you could even come down here and catch peacocks, you know. Most people are familiar with the peacock bass having to go to the Amazon, you know, and this is a different breed. Captain Bill, this is a butterfly peacock?
It's a butterfly peacock, yes.
So it's a butterfly peacock. You know, I think they max out around the 10-pound range. Is that
That's
correct? So about 10-pound range, and the ones obviously over in the Amazon, you know, I've seen them be caught up in the high 20s. I don't know if they get much bigger than that, maybe 30, close to it, something
Yeah,
like that.
20s,
but what's really spectacular is these fish, the clown knife fish that I literally had no idea existed up until, you know, Thomas showed me, you know, what Captain Bill was. Here we go. There we go. Fish on.
Oh man.
That's what I thought. I'm not sure what we got here. Might be large. Well, I don't know. Let's see what we got. Might be a peacock. Largemouth. I believe. Yeah, nice largemouth.
So that's kind of the cool thing about fishing here in South Florida, is that you just don't know what you're going to catch next. I mean,
it's unbelievable.
There's so much variety, and you know, you can go from catching, you know, solid 2.5, 3 pound largemouth like this. The next fish could be a clown knife fish. You get your peacock bass, Mayan cichlid, channel catfish. I mean, there's a ton of variety here. live baiting these shad. So, I mean, that just makes it a really interesting fishery.
Yeah, and it's an easy deal too. You come down here, you're fishing these canals. It's a reasonable trip. Literally anybody can do this. And Captain Bill has everything set up. I mean, he literally just lets you fish, and it lets you really enjoy and kind of take in what you're getting into. Like I said, I've never experienced anything like this, especially fishing these canals. Which is really, really awesome. So I'm going to let Thomas get back behind the get back behind the rod and reel and see if he can't put one on there. You hooked up?
Well, I'm glad I put someone behind the rod and reel that knows what the heck they're doing.
That could get tight.
Because obviously,
yeah,
everything I told you earlier, I don't even know what the heck I'm doing. So
You just weren't holding your mouth right.
I wasn't. Something wasn't right. But Clay obviously knew what I was doing wrong. So
Clay had your back.
He had my
That's
back.
What good friends
Yep.
do.
I was messing up somewhere, so Clay took the rod and reel from me and throws out there and catches one out in the first 2 minutes.
That's what it takes sometimes.
That's right.
Yeah, that's what friends are for.
Obviously, the fish didn't like me.
They didn't like you. You were casting in the wrong spot.
That
Clay.
fish doesn't like Clay now, though. So
Yeah, we've had a good time today. This has been a fun day.
Great trip.
Fishing with you guys, and tomorrow morning we're gonna do it again. We're gonna scout a few areas, see if we can get on a few clown knife fish first thing in the morning, and same kind of pattern. As the weather heats up, we're gonna Matt's got a fish on back here.
Does he have one on?
I believe so. Yep.
Oh yeah.
Nice fish on there.
The sun's going down. The bite's picking up.
It's fun out because so many people have really been dragging today. We just have to troll this out on the way home.
There's no other way to do it.
There's no other way to do it than just let it out behind the boat when I'm running home with the hook cut off. Nice largemouth, Matt. A little fatty.
Nice, Matt.
there we go.
Oh man.
Snaps right here. This is what happens. I like to buy people new reels. I'm gonna get to buy Captain Bill a new
Well,
one.
you got another rod right there at your feet.
You have any super glue?
That's fine. Just grab another rod, Walt. I brought an extra rod because I knew you were coming with us. I knew you were hard on equipment.
With me for a little,
I knew you were going to be hard on equipment, so I got a backup rod for you, bud. That's all right, we'll retire that one. You didn't like that. You didn't like that setup anyway.
I love it. This is what you call it, Clay, this is what's called hand lining.
I was just about to say, you're gonna finish out the night just hand lining?
Yes, sir. I may not break much doing it that way. Except for,
How about these awesome shirts, though?
these are great.
Here you go, sir.
Bill, where'd you get these shirts made?
These shirts were made by a local artist here in South Florida, actually in Lighthouse Point, Florida, which is in Broward County, a little south of us. R.J. Boyle Studios. He drew that design with the peacock bass and the largemouth bass for me. Super talented, good friend of mine for many years, and great outdoor artist. Great guy to do any of your graphics for shirts or whatever you need. He does great work. So real happy with
Well,
it.
Bill told us that the reason why he has it camouflaged on the right-hand side, because most people are right-handed, therefore the fish won't see you cast. So I don't know if that's a fish story or not, but he's sticking with it.
Yeah. Yeah, they can't see your casting hand. I mean, you got to have that camoed out. I mean, the boat's camoed out, the engine, so why not camo out your casting hand as well? You know? I mean, that makes sense to me. I don't know about you guys.
I bit off on it.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, you took it hook, line, and sinker. You agreed with me immediately. That made sense.
It did.
It just
You're gonna fish from a camo boat. You gotta have it.
You gotta have a camo sleeve.
on your casting hand.
Yeah, your casting hand.
And he knew we were right-handed.
We're fishing spinning reels. You got to cast the spinning reel with your right hand. You can't cast the spinning reel with your left hand. Good stuff.
Thomas, you gonna catch a fish?
Not a catfish.
That's
Yeah,
right.
He's got a cat.
I can't.
I am the
You got a
catfish.
bass.
Yeah. He's got a bass and a
Matt's got
peacock.
bass,
And my dad's got a bass.
He's got a peacock up there.
So
That's a good, well-rounded
I'm
night.
gonna stick with a catfish. And I'm also catching a lot of hydrilla. Cleaning it out for Bill later on down the road.
Team player. He's
So next time,
doing his part.
other people don't have to do this.
But Captain Bill, tell us about the fish, you know, being on the bed, coming off that, and when the fishing really picks up, you know.
Yeah. Right now these peacocks are spawning, so they're kind of spread up and down these canals, and they, you know, just like a bass, they'll, you know, they'll sweep away all the algae and stuff from the bottom and put some shells together and lay their eggs in those beds. But peacock bass, unlike largemouth bass, will actually stay with their fry after they're born and protect them, you know, until they're a couple inches long, 3 inches long. You start to see them fan out and feed on their own. So the peacock bass bedding cycle is probably, I would say, at least 3 months. Not like a bass, which is a couple, 3 weeks. You know, they lay their eggs, they make their bed, and then they're gone. Peacock bass, I guess in the Amazon there's more predators. They have to stay with them longer in order for their fry to have a chance to survive to adulthood. So yeah, it's about the middle of October, beginning of October, when we get our first cold fronts, these peacock bass will move off of these beds and they'll start to school around the structures, bridges, pipes, anything that's, you know, unusual, hard bottom. And you know, we can sit there and kind of wear them out, you know, in the fall. But right now we're just, you know, you're picking a dozen, you know, 10 dozen fish a trip, and working for them a little bit. But
And then all the largemouth you want.
yeah, all the largemouth that you can handle. But you know, the folks that I get on the boat are looking for these exotic fish, which I don't blame them, because they're, you know, something that people don't get to catch elsewhere. So, you know, like I said, this system is the furthest north in Florida where you can catch peacock bass and these exotic fish. We have the only breeding population of these clown knifefish, so, you know, that just keeps the fishing really interesting, because you cast your bait out and you don't know what's coming next. It's not like, okay, we're going to sit here and just, you know, catch 50 largemouth bass. You could catch a clown knifefish, you can catch a Mayan cichlid, you can catch a peacock bass. So that, you know, that makes this fishery really unique. You know, it really does, and it's exciting. You know, it's really fun to, you know, to put people on their first peacock bass like we did today. Everybody caught their first peacock bass, which was a lot of fun. We caught a couple of clown knifefish, caught a lot of largemouth bass, caught Mayan cichlids, channel catfish, crappie. So that's just a typical day, you know, in the system. A lot of variety, a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to tomorrow morning. It's getting dark, gentlemen, so I don't know, probably make a couple more casts here and head to the barn.
Back to the ranch.
Got him? Yeah, moon's come up yet.